So the underlying tone is the sea. I grew up by the sea and then found myself working on the water, and I crossed the Atlantic a couple of times and down to the Indian Ocean. It wasn't until I started being creative did I realise that all of that had seeped into me, and that was my passion. I just, love being by the water. It's a real emotional thing. I've been using porcelain for 15 years, and I use two different types of porcelain. Limoges for the larger pieces because it has more plasticity and durability, and then I use Royale for the smaller pieces. So when the clay's on the wheel, I pat the clay, pound it on so it's slightly centered, and then I'll start adding water, making sure that it's stuck onto the base. I'll cone a couple of times. I kind of say that my body's a bit like a machine, and it's very strong internally, and then the end of my fingertips are the sensitive bits. I would push my thumb through and then make the base, and then I'd really make sure that that base is compact. I will then start to concentrate on the sides, and I would then bring the clay to the side and prepare the walls, so a nice thickness all the way up, and then I'd start doing the pull and making sure that the outside hand is underneath the inside hand and bringing the clay up. So once the piece has been thrown, I use calipers for the top to make sure that see the distance of that. So when I do the second piece, which is the top, the base, I go all the way through and make a hole, because I won't need that when I turn it the other way around and put my hand through. So it's just making sure that that top width is actually the same width as my other piece, but a slightly narrower at the bottom. So when I'm happy with that, I'd wire off and then leave them to dry until the next day. So when they become just about leather hard, I will double check the distance of the width of the edges, and I would do the top piece first, and serrate the top and hatch it, and I'd bevel inside, just the inside, so once the slip is on, then it will fill in that gap. So the slurry is used from the water that I've used from the day before, and I'd whisk that up and sieve it through so it's using the same clay as I'm already using. And that is then just agitated on. I would then use my fingers as a guide to make a nice even thickness. So the top's agitated on, and I will cut a hole at the top so I can get my hand through, and then it's just a repetitive up and down kind of throwing motion of trying to really compress the sides together. I'd also use a serrated kidney to join the pieces together to make sure that, a bit of clay going up and down, anything just to really make that join combined. And the top I'd throw very gently up and make sure that it's slightly domed. The consistency of the clay is important, especially on the wide pieces, that it's quite hard, otherwise the rims will flop. But once I've thrown the tops, I will then close the sides in a bit so I could create that oval, and then I will agitate the tops of the lips just to emphasize that. And that's grown within the years, and they're more undulated than they were maybe 10 years ago. And that could be influenced from my surroundings now, the South Downs and the gentle rollings of the hills. It's feels like there's more movement there as well. So once that's done, I will then put my stamp on the right hand side of one of the lips down at the bottom, and that's covered until the next day, and I'll then uncover it and I'll scrape back and really refine the lip and the edges and also the sides so they're really compressed. That will be sponged down and then covered again. So the glazing is also quite methodical. I would have it quite thin to start with, and it's always sieved, so I know that there's no lumps. And when I pour in, it gets rotated twice, and this is so there's no line in the middle, and you get a nice clean even finish. But then it saturates quite a bit into the clay, so I let it dry for another day, and I would then spray. But within the spray, the glaze in the spray gun would be quite thick. And because they're stoneware glazes, the glazes tend to be thicker, and with spraying it means that I don't have so much water on the outside and will give an even finish as well. And my little trick at the end for those illuminating edges is that I just scrape with a kidney and reveal the edge and would sponge the inside rim. What I love about clay is the diversity, and I just find that, you know, work is always evolving, and the huge expansion of water and the sea is as big as what ceramic can give me too. So I just find that it will be an endless lifetime of investigation and using different clays together with the porcelain and textures. I'm just really enjoying, referencing glaciers and icebergs and that solid, massive water there, but it still has that fragility. So it can soon melt or it could soon break. But yeah, I find that it's a lifetime of investigation.